Folks, in today's video, we are going to be breaking down the top 3 squeeze stocks that you need to know about immediately. I will put all the timestamps down below, and the only thing that I ask in return is that you hit that ravishing like button, and also don't forget to subscribe. And this video is brought to you by our Flash 40 coupon code on ZipTrader U, which, yes, as we've been talking about, expires tomorrow night at midnight. So if you want to take advantage, make sure to do so before then. Link down below, one-time fee for lifetime access. Okay, so I want to go ahead and start with Peggy, and Peggy has been quite the tease. For context, the first time we briefed on her was on October 5th. That was at roughly 185-ish a share. We liked her because she was showing day-over-day momentum, unusually high pre-market activity and volume, and overall substantial proof of concept. Proof of concepto. From that point on, she ended up going on a roller coaster back and forth to 754, which was about a 307% run from October 5th to October 12th highs. Then, from those heights, she's been selling off. But the reason that she is relevant again right now is because the way that we look at momentum stocks is the momentum is only dead if they fail to hold higher levels of support and confirm the downward direction. If they are fighting that down direction, if they are finding support levels of people buying and trying to bounce them up from those higher support levels, well, then all of a sudden it seems like the momentum has an encore coming. If a stock sells off from a cycle high and then attempts a bounce, that means you could very well be due for another breakout attempt to a new cycle high and a higher one. What we are seeing right now is very similar to what we saw on that October 6th dump. Although this time around it's been a little bit more dragged out, right? More days between heights and dumps, but overall, very similar situation where the stock is dumping and people are watching to see if it can hold overall momentum, and if it can, all of a sudden you get a new attempt to a new all-time high. But Mr. Squeezy McSqueezle, what is the squeeze setup on this? Well, as Madam Peggy pumped in the beginning of the momentum cycle, short interest skyrocketed. As she sold off, short interest continued steadily increasing, and Ortex's estimated short interest shows her sitting at 10.28%, which sounds low, but it's really not because of how low float the stock actually is. And you could see that shorts are very hard to come by, as cost to borrow is at 409% and up 23% in the last 7 days alone. And it is crucial to understand that when you're analyzing a stock that has come down 98% plus or so from last year's highs and just barely bounced, well, it becomes incredibly unstable and really neurotic for short sellers to short it, because it's during these time periods where you can get these massive rallies that go up 300, 400, 500% on the flip of a coin, just because of how little money it takes to rally things up. When you have a very beat down, low float, low liquidity stock, and it just sees a little bit of capital inflowing at the same time where relative short interest is pretty high, well, all of a sudden it doesn't take much for those shorts to get massively hammered. So why is it that shorts even bother shorting this? Well, I don't think that it's a conscious effort. In fact, we've seen tons and tons of short algos that just blanketly and algorithmically and mindlessly short small caps and micro caps, assuming they'll go down because of higher interest rates and because of this overall market environment. They do that as a sort of hedging maneuver, sometimes a direct attack maneuver to gain extra alpha on the market. But generally speaking, if you're seeing stocks like Apple and big tech overall turn over, that means that super small caps are definitely going to be turning over. Anything risk asset wise, anything that's a risk asset. So hedge funds will go and they'll massively short, without asking any questions, they'll massively short pretty much any small cap stock. And as the market environment gets worse, as it has done this year, they'll just add to those short positions. But in some situations, like with this stock, they add to short positions when the stock is already down like 98%, which is kind of the equivalent of buying into a stock when it's, say, like 2,000 or 3,000% up on the year. It's like, sure, it can continue running, but it's kind of neurotic to buy it at that point. And even though the short sellers may be very right in the long run, it creates this inefficiency when you have enough buying pressure coming into the stock. And similar to the first time we briefed on it, I believe that this is a solid setup that, if given a little bit more juice, could very well make a new high that passes the previous cycle high. Could be wrong, but that's what requiring proof of concept and risk management is all about. And that's where those things come in. Okay, next, AVTE. So this is likely one of the strongest, most steady technical setups we are seeing in the short squeeze space right now. The runs are not insane, but it has been solidly uptrending on the year, which you can't say from most stocks in any sector, really. There's two aspects of this to enjoy if you're looking for a squeeze. Number one, the overall uptrend has been slowly boiling like a frog. As shorts get more and more burnt, the math on the squeeze play becomes more and more conducive and their positions make less and less sense. Number two, when you have an overall uptrend on a squeeze stock that lasts this long, you'll get periods like these where the price just really jumps ahead of itself. Periods of time where the boiling frog jumps up. I believe we could be in the early days of another one of those that takes us far past the last high. You go over and you look at the short setup on Ortex. Shorts tried suppressing and shorting into the run exactly a year ago, and then when the stock price sold off successfully, short interest went back down. And then shorts essentially stayed consistent and in range in the spring rally. Then as we got into the summer and fall runs, shorts have been steadily increasing short positions and are actively in a higher range for this latest iteration, which means a tighter float, more guaranteed buyers on the flip side when the shorts decide to cover, and bigger picture, more frogs that are going to be boiling if prices continue to trend up and in an overall upward direction. Now, this is what is interesting. Pay attention to this period hither where the price went up but short interest stayed about the same. Now, let's add failures to deliver to the chart. In the aftermath of the same rally, failures to deliver skyrocketed, which means what? Well, in my view, it means that there were a lot of naked shorts that hadn't actually even borrowed shares to sell short and were behind the scenes trying to take advantage of this uptrend, but then their bluffs got called when the price went up and there wasn't enough liquidity for them to buy the shares in a hurry. And so all of a sudden they failed to deliver. And there's also some evidence of that happening more recently in August and September in more concentrated, shorter term periods, but pretty extreme periods nonetheless. So my view is not only is the visible short interest, the short interest that we can see based on Ortex's estimate going higher than it had been in the summer, but it's probably true that there's a lot of naked shorts behind the scenes that aren't showing up in this data, which makes the setup look even more ripe if it continues to heat up and boil the frog and screw over the short sellers. Next, Madam Finger. So on October 3rd, we briefed on Madam Finger. We were pretty late to it. It was at about 395-ish, but it still ended up running to 1010 by the next extended hours period. It then had its take profit cycle, an attempted breakout, and then another take profit cycle. It built enough confidence to find its way to a third attempt at a breakout, but Madame Finger just couldn't do it, and on the final and third attempt, people lost confidence and sold it off. A couple days ago, she found a bottom and has been trying to bounce off that as squeeze stocks have become hot again. When she breaks above that red directional SMA line and holds that, I'll consider this a new breakout attempt. I think going into the end of October and early November, this is a prime candidate for a higher high. So this, I don't have a lot more to say about it because we've talked about it a lot in the past. But what I will say is technically I do like the stock a lot if it does show its proof of concept and it continues to show the ability to break out to higher highs. If it doesn't, if all of a sudden it just dramatically sells off, they do an offering or something like that, people lose confidence very, very fast, and then all of a sudden you don't have a good setup anymore. So keep that in mind. Proof of concept is necessary, and it must continue to show proof of concept. And finally, for folks wondering why I didn't put Mullen on this list, I made a whole video on Mullen yesterday, and my thoughts on that are still true. Keep in mind that the next catalyst for this one is on October 27th, which is just 7 days away, and that's that media event that they're going to be doing. So there is certainly some reason to watch yesterday's video if you haven't already, just to be up to date on what's going on there. Anyways, folks, that caps off today's video on play ideas and overall setups that I want you to be aware of. Let us know if you have any plays that you're excited about down below and what you like about them. Now, if you are somebody that wants to join us in ZipTrader U for our step-by-step lessons, private chat, daily morning briefings, and full price target list, as well as all other trading resources, I will put a link to the program down below. Keep in mind that our Flash 40 coupon code expires at the end of tomorrow at midnight. That coupon code Flash 40 will get you 40% off before checkout. Our Flash sale has been on for a few weeks and it is coming to a close very shortly. Anyways, have a good one, folks, and I will see you in the next video.